All right, let's dive into the world of a classic Korean folktale today. A story that you might find a little familiar but has its own unique magic. The tale of Kongjwi and Patjwi. So what's it all about? Well, get ready for a story packed with some serious hardship, a sprinkle of wonder-working magic, and a major turning point that all comes down to, yep, a single lost shoe. First things first, let's meet our main character, a kind-hearted girl at the center of it all named Kongjwi. Okay, so at the heart of our story is Kongjwi. She's a kind and gentle soul, but her life is pretty tough right from the start. She lost her mother when she was really young, leaving her with just her father. But her life takes a really sharp, unfortunate turn when her father decides to remarry. And if this is starting to sound familiar, it's because it's a theme we see in fairy tales all over the world. You know, the whole wicked stepmother thing. And along with this new stepmother comes her daughter, the very selfish Patjwi. From this moment on, Kongjwi's world is completely turned upside down. And then things go from bad to way worse. After her father passes away, Kongjwi is basically treated like a servant. The difference between the two girls is just, wow. Kongjwi is buried under endless, back-breaking chores, while her stepsister Patjwi gets to live a life of total ease and privilege. You can really feel the injustice. And all this mistreatment really comes to a head with what I like to call the impossible tasks. So the whole village is buzzing because a grand festival has been announced. Everybody's excited to go. But no surprise here, the stepmother has zero intention of letting Kongjwi have any fun. To make absolutely sure she stays home, she comes up with a list of cruel and what seem to be impossible tasks. And listen, we're not just talking about your average tough chores here. These are designed to make her fail. First, she has to plow a whole field of gravel with a flimsy wooden hoe. Good luck with that. Then she has to fill a giant jar that has a huge hole in the bottom. And to top it all off, she has to hull a massive pile of rice and weave some fine cloth. Each one is a recipe for total soul-crushing failure. But just when you think it's all over for Kongjwi, this is where things get interesting. This is where the magic kicks in, as some magical helpers arrive. So just picture Kongjwi for a second, standing in front of this field of rocks with a useless wooden hoe. I mean, how could anyone possibly get this done? And then, out of absolutely nowhere, a mysterious black cow shows up. And get this, in Korean folklore, cows often symbolize things like diligence and good fortune. Well, this one definitely lives up to it. It gets right to work and, boom, the entire field is plowed in what feels like an instant. Task 1, miraculously complete. All right, on to the next one. That broken jar. This is a task that's just designed to be maddening, right? Every single drop of water she'd pour in would just spill right back out. But then, another magical creature appears to help her out. A giant toad, another animal, often seen as a sign of good luck, hops on over and cleverly plugs that hole with its own back. Just like that, Kongjwi can fill the jar all the way to the top. And for the grand finale, the stepmother throws the biggest task at her yet, hauling a literal mountain of rice, grain by grain, and then weaving beautiful cloth. I mean, this alone should have taken her weeks to finish. And that's when the rest of the magic shows up. A whole flock of sparrows flies down and starts pecking the hulls off the rice perfectly. And then a celestial fairy appears out of thin air to weave the cloth in the blink of an eye. With all this amazing help, the impossible was, well, possible after all. So with all the impossible tasks somehow, miraculously, done, Kongjwi is finally free to go to the festival. And this is where we get to the most iconic part of the whole story, the lost flower shoe. But the fairy isn't done yet. She doesn't just help with the chores. She gives Kongjwi this incredible gift, a gorgeous silk dress and a pair of the most delicate, beautiful flower shoes. In an instant, she's transformed. She doesn't look like a servant anymore. She looks like a noble lady. So she's rushing, right, trying to get to the festival, and suddenly she hears this big procession coming her way. It's a magistrate. She gets startled and doesn't want to be seen, so she quickly tries to hide. But in her rush, one of those beautiful shoes slips right off her foot and tumbles into a stream. The magistrate's men spot the shoe in the water and bring it to him. He is just completely captivated by how beautiful and well-made it is. He holds it up and gives a command for everyone to hear, "Find the owner of this beautiful shoe." And just like that, the search is on. Which brings us to the story's grand finale, a royal wedding. You can just picture it, right? The magistrate's men are going from house to house. Every single young woman in the village gets a chance to try on the shoe, but its magic is real. It fits absolutely no one. Eventually, they get to Kongjwi's home. Patjwi, of course, tries to just jam her foot into the tiny shoe, and it's a complete, comical disaster. But then Kongjwi is brought forward. She quietly slips her foot in, and it's a perfect fit. Just like that, her true identity is revealed. The magistrate is overjoyed. He's found her. He asks Kongjwi to be his wife. She accepts, and after a whole lifetime of cruelty and hardship, she finally finds the happiness and kindness that she always deserved. And that's where we'll leave the story. But it leaves you with a pretty big question, doesn't it? What does this tale, with all its magic and sudden changes of fortune, really tell us about justice? Is it that goodness always wins in the end, even if it needs a little supernatural boost? Or maybe there's a deeper message here about patience and inner strength. It's definitely something to think about.